afternoon, Sylvia, a 60-year-old woman, decided to take a taxi to a secluded spot that held cherished memories of her past. As she stepped out, the fresh air filled her with a sense of adventure she hadn't felt in years. Little did she know her day would change when she met David, a charming man who would awaken emotions she thought were lost forever. Their connection sparked a thrilling journey of romance that neither of them expected. As the taxi glided along the winding country roads, the late afternoon sun cast a warm golden glow over everything it touched. Sylvia, a graceful woman in her 60s with silvery hair pulled back into a loose bun, gazed out the window with a mix of nostalgia and anticipation. She was dressed simply but elegantly in a soft cream cardigan and dark slacks, her hands resting calmly on her lap. Despite the quiet chatter of the driver, her mind wandered back through the years to the vibrant moments of her youth, filled with laughter, love, and adventure. She hadn't felt this alive in a long time, but today was different. "Could you stop here, please?" she asked the taxi driver, breaking the spell of her reverie. The taxi pulled over to the side of the road, and Sylvia stepped out into the fresh air. She paid the driver, who gave her a curious glance, but she was already lost in her own thoughts, ignoring the world around her. The landscape was breathtaking, with lush green fields stretching endlessly and a forest line in the distance. She had asked the driver to stop here because she wanted to visit a little hidden spot that held memories of her youth, a place where she once found solace and joy in nature. As she walked toward the edge of the forest, Sylvia felt a flutter of excitement in her chest. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking my video. She had come to this place many times with her late husband, Henry. They would laugh, explore, and sometimes simply sit in silence, enjoying each other's company. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the gentle breeze caress her face, feeling the warmth of the sun on her skin. Memories flooded back, bringing a bittersweet smile to her lips. But today, she wanted to create new memories, to feel the thrill of life again. As she ventured deeper into the woods, she could hear the soft rustling of leaves and the distant chirp of birds. After walking for a while, Sylvia stumbled upon a small clearing surrounded by tall trees. In the center stood a lovely old bench, worn by time but still sturdy. She brushed off the leaves and sat down, her heart swelling with fond memories. Just as she was settling into the peaceful atmosphere, she heard the sound of footsteps approaching. She turned, a little startled, and found a man standing at the edge of the clearing. He was tall and handsome, with salt and pepper hair that framed his kind face. His deep blue eyes sparkled with warmth and curiosity. "Hello there," he said, his voice smooth and inviting. "I didn't expect to find anyone out here." Sylvia felt a rush of warmth spread through her. He had an air of familiarity that made her heart flutter. She smiled back, intrigued. "Just enjoying the quiet," she replied, her voice softer than she intended. "This place holds many memories for me." He stepped closer, the sunlight illuminating his features, revealing a friendly smile that made her feel at ease. "I understand. I often come here to think. Nature has a way of bringing back those special moments, doesn't it?" They talked easily, sharing stories about their lives, their loves, and the moments that had shaped them. His name was David, and he was also in his 60s, with children of his own who were now grown and off living their lives. Sylvia felt a connection with him, as if they were old friends reunited after many years apart. With every passing moment, she found herself laughing more freely, her heart feeling lighter. They talked about their favorite places, their hopes and dreams, and as the sun began to set, casting a warm orange glow through the trees, Sylvia felt a warmth blossom within her. Time slipped away unnoticed as they shared their lives. But soon, a comfortable silence fell between them, heavy with unspoken emotions. Help me reach my first 1,000 subscribers. Your support is what makes this journey possible, so don't forget to subscribe. Sylvia could feel the chemistry between them growing stronger, an invisible thread drawing them closer together. It was exhilarating and frightening all at once. She hadn't felt this kind of attraction in years, and it both thrilled and scared her. David's gaze lingered on her, and for a moment, they simply watched each other, the world around them fading into the background. "Would you like to take a walk?" David finally asked, breaking the spell. Sylvia nodded, her heart racing. As they walked side by side, their hands nearly touching with each step, she felt the spark between them grow stronger. They wandered deeper into the woods, the air filled with the sweet scent of pine and wildflowers. As they walked, they shared more about their lives, their laughter ringing through the trees, echoing off the hills. Sylvia found herself sharing things she hadn't spoken about in years, revealing her dreams and desires, the regrets that lingered, and the joys that had defined her life. As they reached a small stream, David paused, turning to face her. "You have such a beautiful spirit," he said, his voice low and sincere. Sylvia felt her cheeks flush at his compliment, her heart fluttering in her chest. "Thank you, but it's easy to feel that way when you're surrounded by beauty," she replied, her eyes sparkling. He stepped closer, the space between them disappearing as he looked deep into her eyes. "No, it's more than that. There's something about you, something that lights up the world around you." Before she could respond, he gently reached out, brushing a stray hair behind her ear. The simple touch awakened feelings she thought had long been buried. For a moment, time stood still as their eyes locked, both of them feeling the electric tension that hung in the air. It was as if the universe had conspired to bring them together in this magical moment. Slowly, he leaned in, their lips barely inches apart. Sylvia's heart raced, anticipation coursing through her veins as she closed her eyes, surrendering to the moment. When their lips finally met, it was soft and tender, like a gentle breeze kissing the earth after a long winter. Sylvia felt a rush of warmth engulf her, as if the sun had suddenly broken through the clouds. The kiss deepened, their bodies gravitating toward one another as though drawn by an invisible force. It was everything she had yearned for, a connection that ignited her soul and made her feel alive again. She felt young, vibrant, as if the years had melted away with every brush of his lips against hers. As they pulled away, both breathless, David looked into her eyes, searching for something. "I didn't expect to feel this way today," he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. Sylvia smiled softly, her heart swelling with happiness. "Neither did I," she confessed, her fingers intertwining with his. They stood there, fingers entwined, soaking in the warmth of the moment, the world around them fading into a soft blur. For the first time in years, Sylvia felt hope blooming in her heart. She realized that love could come at any age, and it could be as beautiful and intoxicating as it had always been. As the sky turned shades of pink and orange, signaling the end of the day, Sylvia and David continued to share stories and laughter. They walked hand in hand back toward the clearing, their hearts beating in sync with each other. The sun dipped below the horizon, leaving behind a canvas of stars twinkling above them. Sylvia felt alive, free, and wonderfully hopeful as she leaned into David, who wrapped an arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. It was a moment of comfort, of connection, and she knew that something beautiful was beginning between them. When they finally reached the bench again, David turned to her, his expression serious but soft. "I don't want this day to end," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Sylvia felt a rush of warmth flood through her. She didn't want it to end either. "Maybe it doesn't have to," she replied, her heart racing at the possibilities. They sat down together, still holding hands, sharing stories under the blanket of stars that began to fill the night sky. Laughter and warmth flowed between them, creating a bubble of intimacy that felt as if it could stretch forever. As the stars twinkled above them, David gently lifted Sylvia's chin, looking deep into her eyes. "You have brought something back to my life that I thought I lost forever," he confessed, his gaze unwavering. Sylvia's heart swelled at his words, feeling a connection so deep it sent a thrill through her entire being. "I feel the same way," she admitted, her voice trembling with emotion. They leaned in closer again, their lips brushing softly as they shared another kiss, each touch igniting a fire that had long been dormant. In that serene moment, surrounded by nature and under the stars, they both knew they had discovered something rare and beautiful. Their hearts were open to new beginnings, to a romance that transcended age and circumstance. With every kiss, every shared laugh, they began to weave their lives together, creating memories that would last a lifetime. As they sat together, wrapped in each other's warmth, Sylvia realized that love could bloom anew at any age, and it was worth every moment of joy, passion, and connection they could share. As they shared another kiss, Sylvia felt the world around them fade away. The warmth of David's body against hers filled her with a sense of security she hadn't felt in years. She could feel the steady beat of his heart as they sat together, his breath mingling with hers, creating a rhythm that felt so natural it was as if they had known each other forever, their souls connecting in a way that was deep and profound. She had never imagined that at this stage in her life she would find such a spark, such a thrilling connection with someone. David pulled away slightly, his eyes searching hers. "I can't believe how easy this is with you," he said, his voice low and filled with warmth. Sylvia nodded, her heart racing. "It feels like we were meant to meet today," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. The magic of the moment enveloped them, making everything else seem unimportant. She leaned into him again, resting her head on his shoulder, feeling a sense of peace wash over her. For so long she had carried the weight of loneliness, but now with David beside her, it felt like that weight had lifted. "Tell me more about you," David urged, gently brushing his fingers through her hair. His touch sent tingles down her body, and she felt a rush of emotions surge through her. Sylvia took a deep breath, feeling the vulnerability of the moment. "I spent many years focusing on my family and raising my children," she began, a small smile playing on her lips. "I loved every moment, but once they grew up and left home, I felt lost." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "I think I forgot how to enjoy life for myself." David listened intently, his expression serious yet soft. "You deserve to find joy again," he said earnestly, his gaze unwavering. Sylvia looked up at him, feeling a mix of gratitude and longing. "I never thought I could feel this way again," she admitted, her voice shaky. "You make it easy," he replied, leaning closer, his words hanging in the air, thick with meaning. Sylvia's heart raced as she felt the intensity of his feelings mirror her own. It was more than just attraction, it was a deep emotional connection that made her heart swell. The night deepened around them, the stars twinkling like diamonds in the sky. Sylvia felt a flutter of excitement mixed with fear. What if this was just a fleeting moment? But as she looked into David's eyes, she saw sincerity and warmth, something that made her want to take the leap. "What if we explored this?" she asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if we let ourselves feel whatever this is between us?" David smiled, his eyes lighting up with a mix of surprise and joy. "I would love that," he replied, his voice thick with emotion. Encouraged by his response, Sylvia leaned in, capturing his lips with hers once more. This kiss was different, it was deeper and more passionate, filled with the promise of what was to come. David's hands found their way to her waist, pulling her closer as she melted against him. Every kiss sent waves of warmth and desire coursing through her, igniting a fire that she thought had long been extinguished. She felt alive, every touch making her heart race, filling her with a longing she hadn't known in years. As they kissed, the world around them seemed to disappear completely. Sylvia could feel David's heartbeat, steady and strong, matching the rhythm of her own. The connection between them was undeniable, and with every soft caress, she felt herself sinking deeper into him as if they were two souls intertwined. The night was filled with the sounds of nature, but all she could hear was the soft sound of their breathing and the beating of their hearts. In that moment, nothing else mattered but the magic they had created together, and she knew she would cherish this feeling forever. As their kisses grew more intense, Sylvia felt a thrilling rush of desire wash over her. David's hands moved from her waist to her back, pressing her against him, and she could feel the warmth radiating from his body. She had forgotten what it felt like to be desired, to feel that spark igniting within her, every touch awakening parts of her that had lain dormant for too long. She craved more, wanting to explore every inch of this connection that felt so right. David pulled back slightly, his eyes searching hers. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, his voice low and filled with concern. Sylvia felt a flutter of uncertainty, but the look in his eyes told her everything she needed to know. She nodded, her heart racing. "I've never been more sure of anything," she replied, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside her. It was as if he had awakened something within her that had been waiting for this very moment. He smiled softly, and their lips met again, this time with an urgency that made Sylvia's heart race. The kiss deepened as David's hands explored her body, tracing the curves of her waist and hips. Every touch ignited a fire within her, stirring feelings of passion she thought were lost to time. Sylvia responded instinctively, her fingers tangling in his hair, pulling him closer as she surrendered to the intoxicating heat between them. In that moment, they were lost to the world, two souls entwined in a dance of passion and longing. David's hands traveled up her back, finding the clasp of her cardigan, letting it fall away from her shoulders. The cool night air met her skin, sending a rush of exhilaration through her. She gasped softly, feeling exposed yet liberated. David's eyes darkened with desire as he traced his fingertips along her bare arms, sending tingles racing through her. "You're so beautiful," he murmured, his gaze never leaving hers. Sylvia felt her cheeks flush, warmth blooming in her chest at his words. "Show me," she whispered, emboldened by the moment and the passion that radiated between them. She felt a sense of empowerment surging through her, a desire to embrace this unexpected connection fully. David's breath caught at her request, and she saw the mix of surprise and excitement in his eyes. "Are you sure?" he asked again, his voice thick with emotion. Sylvia nodded, her heart racing. "Yes, I want this," she declared, feeling a rush of adrenaline at her own boldness. She was ready to explore the depths of this moment, to allow herself to feel every ounce of passion. With a shared understanding, David leaned in, capturing her lips with his again. The kiss was electric, filled with urgency as they surrendered to the desire that pulsed between them. His hands roamed her body, exploring her curves with a tenderness that made her heart flutter. Sylvia felt herself responding eagerly, arching her back against him as their kisses grew deeper and more fervent. The world around them faded away, and all that existed was the connection they were forging in that secluded forest clearing. As the night enveloped them, Sylvia felt a sense of freedom wash over her. She had spent so many years being careful, holding back her desires, but now with David, it felt as if all those walls had crumbled. She surrendered to the moment, letting the heat of passion guide her. She pulled him closer, her fingers tracing the contours of his jawline, memorizing the feel of his skin under her touch. Everything about him drew her in, and she couldn't help but lose herself in the magic of their connection.